Answer the call when the hotline rings. We talk it all from Sunday's bright to March till fall. We rise, we never log off. Answer the call. Razorbacks fight, we stand up tall. If you bleed that red, you know this call. Answer the call.
We have a big show lined up for you guys today. College Insight meets real sports talk. We've got Mark Vaughn from Anderson University joining us. And trust me, you're going to want to hear this perspective. Real quick, though, thank you to everyone tuning in and to everyone in the lower 48, Hawaii, Alaska, and 42 countries around the world. It is an honor to be a part of the Sportz Nutz Network and be a part of your daily sports needs. If you are not subbed to the channel, please make sure you like, subscribe, and do so right now because you do not want to miss any of the action. And I got to tell you, I'm super pumped. And Brandon's told me a lot about this guest, and I reached out to Mr. Mark, and we agreed that he's going to come on the show. So the man who wears many hats, a true believer in divine intervention, Mr. Mark Vaughn. How are you doing today? Welcome in, and thank you for taking time out of your day to come on the show.
Thanks, Tim. Pleasure to be here.
So before we get started, guys, the show kind of changed slightly just moments before the show. Our good friend Brandon Keeler of the Sportz Nutz, he was going to join me for this interview with Mr. Mark here, but unfortunately he has to go to the doctor. He was having some chest pain. So guys, let's keep him in our thoughts and prayers. Pray that he has a fast recovery and nothing is seriously wrong, because we want to see Brandon at the Sportz Nutz continue on. And so, Brandon, if you're listening, get better, man, and don't worry about today. I got this. And Mark's going to tell an awesome story, and we're going to sit here and enjoy it. So,
well, Tim, Tim, I was going to say it's a pleasure to be here. And first off, thinking of Brandon, lifting him up in prayer for God's healing of his body. And we just throw that up in his hands. And I know all about that. I've got 4 diseases right now, and have gone through quite a bit of what I call critical injuries or critical illnesses over the last couple of decades. And so I think I can speak to his cause just a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have a few questions for Mr. Mark Vaughn today. He's going to give a behind the scenes, and he's going to tell us his story, and he's going to talk some Anderson University, and then we're going to let him go on his merry way because he is a busy man and we are thankful for his time. So let's get this started real quick. Our good friend Brandon shared a little about your story. Would you be willing to share with the audience that and how you overcame adversity?
Sure. Well, actually, I can go back several decades to how the good Lord has protected me. I was supposed to be in the South Tower in New York on September 11th, 2001. That appointment that I had that day got moved up a week to September 4th. So I look at that as kind of, protection there. I've been in a car wreck where, this was back in 1987, where I almost got decapitated, but saw the wreck coming, ducked. The headrest got chopped off over my head. It took 3 hours to cut me out of the vehicle. But that's another case in point of divine intervention. And then I guess probably the most well-known around these parts was back in 2015. At that time, I was working as vice president of business development for the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame, and was running a fundraising golf tournament, hanging banners, kind of slipped and fell off of a ledge or scaffold, whatever you want to call it, and landed right on the back of my neck. It was probably about a 12, 13-foot drop, and immediately just snapped my spine in half between my 4th and 5th vertebrae. Fortunately for me, it did not hit my spinal cord. So I was concussed, but moving and got up. But the minute I stood up, my head kind of just fell off and my chin was resting on my chest. Enormous pain, as you can imagine. And went to the hospital, and the first doctor that saw me, he misdiagnosed me, or he just told me I had a cracked C4 and put the collar on and come back in 8 weeks. And I didn't feel comfortable with that. And Cliff Stout, who was a former pro quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, he lives here in Greenville, and he was a friend of mine, and he got me into BioSpine in Tampa. And BioSpine is a group of former Gulf War battleground medics, and they handle all the neck and spine injuries for the NFL. And so when they saw my scans, they basically told me, they said, Mark, this is out of our pay grade. We're going to send you to Emory University Neck and Spine, and that's the premier neck and spine place in the country. And the doctor that saw me there, Dr. Keith Michael, he said, what did your doctor in Greenville tell you? And I said, well, he told me I had a cracked C4, put this on and come back in 8 weeks. And he said, well, he's fired. And you better hope that your neck hasn't healed in that collar that he put you in, or I'm going to have to re-break your neck. So having said that, I went down, had an MRI. It wasn't healed to that point, so they didn't have to re-break it. But underwent less than 48 hours, underwent a 16-hour surgery to basically repair from here up. I've got 4 rods, 11 clamps, and 22 screws in me that basically start in the back of my head and go halfway down my back. And came out of surgery. Well, first off, let me go back to right at the beginning of the surgery. There were like 29 people that came by and introduced what they would be doing as part of this operation. And I was in one of those stadium operating rooms because Emory's like a learning hospital with a university there and everything. And he was the last one to come by. And he said, are you scared? And I said, yeah, I am a little scared because there are going to be people in there like with power tools and whatever, kind of routing bone around and stuff. And he said, well, I just wanted to let you know that I'm not operating on you today. And then my heart just sunk because he's like one of the premier doctors. And he just pointed up. He said, he's operating on you. He's just using my hands. And when he said that, it was such a sense of calm that came over me. And then I woke up in the hospital and was actually discharged within 2 days. And but he told me at the end of the surgery, he said, first off, when you broke your neck, before you broke your neck, did you feel like you had a stiff neck? And I said, yes, I did. And he said, well, it was a good reason for that. When we opened you up, we realized you have a disease called ankylosing spondylitis, better known as AS. And that's arthritis of the neck and spine. And your case was so advanced that basically your throat was turning into bone. You were calcifying, was so severe. And we went in there and cleaned all that out. And then we put you on a drug, a high-powered drug. It started out being Enbrel. I was on that for 3 years. And then I went over to Humira. And then a couple of years ago, I got diagnosed with stage 1 melanoma. And when I got the cancer diagnosis, they had to take me off Humira. And they since put me on Cosentyx, and Cosentyx works great. With that drug, I can actually live a normal life, go out and play golf. I don't hit it near as far as I used to because all the metal limits a shoulder turn. And but getting back to the surgery, he told me, he said, Mark, I don't want you to get dejected. He goes, you got a long road ahead of you. We saw probably one of the 5 worst neck injuries here at Emory since I've been here. And you're going to have to go through, you're probably about 18 to 24 months from being fully healed because your body has to accept the hardware that we've implanted in it. You're going to have to go through therapy and rehab to build your muscles up. You had some ligament damage in your shoulders. Your left side, you've only got 60% of the strength that you have on your right. So what we're going to do is we're going to put you in a therapy program, And we're going to, bring you back every 6 months just to see how that's going over the next couple of years. And so I went through that. I actually had the first follow-up on my birthday, January 24th in 2016. And at that time, it was, when I first saw them, and they were actually, you can imagine having a 16-hour surgery. It isn't just one surgeon. There was like 3 guys that actually performed the surgery on me, with it being that lengthy. And I saw them, all 3. They were approaching me, and they had the most bewildered look on their face. And here I am. I'm starting to freak out, thinking something's not healing right. They're going to have to go back in there, do some corrective action, whatever. And the doctor looked at me. He said, "Mark, are you a man of faith?" And I said, "Absolutely. I've worked my tail off, but more than anything, I've prayed as hard as I can possibly pray for healing." And he goes, "Well, we just looked at your scan, and we told you it's going to be like close to 2 years before you're fully healed. But we have no medical reasoning for your condition, but you're fully healed after 6 months. You're free to go. We don't ever want to see you." And so at that point, I left and I walked out to the car and just lost it. I mean, I just cried like a baby for 5 minutes and prayed to God. I'm like, "Thank you for healing me. I'll be your humble servant. I'll go wherever you want me to go. No questions asked." And as habit, not really luck, I call this God's hand in this. I was driving back from Atlanta to Greenville, and about 20 minutes into that phone call, drive, I get a phone call, and I look down, and it's Bill DeAndre. And Bill was, at the time, was the athletic director at Anderson. And when I was still at the Football Hall of Fame, and I had about a 30-year relationship with Bill. I graduated from Clemson University in 1986. I was a walk-on football player for Coach Danny Ford. And at that time, Bill, or Billy D as we know him, he was a graduate assistant coach on the football team. And he and I had stayed in touch over the course of my career and whatnot. But we got to talking, and at that time, if he was calling me, he was wanting tickets to an athletic or Hall of Fame induction. And I said, "Okay, how many tickets you need for the Hall of Fame?" And he goes, "Well, I'm not calling about that." I'm like, "Well, what's up?" And he said, "Well, I want you to come work for me." And I said, "Okay, I'll be there." And he said, "Well, wait a minute, I don't even have the job appropriated yet." I'm like, "That's fine. You work all that out. I'll just be there." And he said, "Well, how do you know?" And I said, "Well, I just had a conversation with God about 20 minutes ago and told him I'd go wherever he led me to go. No questions asked, just total surrender." And he's like, "Wow." So about a month later, I started March 1st of 2016, just finished my 10th year there. And when I got there, facilities were lacking. We were on the lower end of our conference, and we're in the South Atlantic Conference of Division II, on basically just resources and facilities. And so, we just, started praying and went to work and just, figured, let's see how we can make an impact. And since that time, we've added 3 sports. We've got, I guess I should say too, the school has more than doubled in size since I've been there. They had about 22 students, and now they've got over 5,000 students. And we've got one of the premier athletic programs in the country at the D2 level. We had football, men's and women's lacrosse since I've been there. When I got there were only 3 locker rooms for each basketball team and the volleyball team. And now all 20 programs have locker rooms. We probably have the premier, I would say the premier football facility at the D2 level in the country. It's a $20 million facility. On the inside, it looks just like if you walked into the locker room at the University of Georgia, you walked into Clemson's or somewhere like that. So we give our kids, even though we're a D2 school, we give them most definitely a D1 experience. And so coming through that, it's been great. Kind of restarted my career, if you will, in development, moving really from business development at a nonprofit into institutional development with respect to athletics. And since that time, met a beautiful woman. She's from Nebraska. She's a Cornhusker. And we kind of have that going. I always razz her about 1981 when Clemson beat Nebraska in the Orange Bowl for the national championship. And she never forgets to remind me that they got us back in the 2010 Gator Bowl. So kind of funny with that. But no, she's been incredible. We ended up getting married. And then a couple of years back, like I said, I got diagnosed with stage 1 melanoma. They removed that, and I have to go back every 30 days for scans with regards to that. But then last October, I went through I thought I had just a stomach bug, and it never got better. And finally, I went to the emergency room, and I was in really bad shape when I got there. My blood pressure was like 80/54, kind of collapsing. And they were, working, giving me fluids to get my kidneys back. Had diverticulitis, had sepsis, had ketoacidosis, no kidney function, severe dehydration. So spent about 3 or 4 days in the hospital. And during the course of trying to figure out if I had what kind of abdominal infection I had, they ran a CT scan on my abdomen. And the doctor came to me after the scan, and he said, well, we didn't find anything with regards to your infection, but we did spot a mass on your kidney, on your right kidney. And so after I got out of the hospital with regards to the abdominal infection, I got referred to a urologist, and actually one urologist and another second opinion concurred that I had kidney cancer. And so I underwent a biopsy in December. It came back as stage 2 kidney cancer. And then I had surgery in January, and was obviously anesthetized and came out of it. But they got with my wife and told her the surgery was a success. That's all they told her, though. It's just kind of left it hanging there. So for my post-op follow-up, I just looked at him and I said, define success. And he said, Mark, he goes, we got it all. You're cancer free. And
oh, wow.
So,
that's good.
Yeah. And so that happened. And then, since then, every time I've come across something, and I've had like I said, I've had so many instances where I've cheated death, or I've got a disease. And not to mention, I live with type 1 diabetes. I've been a diabetic for 27 years. And I've got, so if you break it down, I've got renal cell carcinoma, or had it, melanoma, skin cancer, diabetes, and ankylosing spondylitis. And so if you can imagine, my prescription medical bills are through the roof. That one drug for AS is well over $100,000 a year. So,
my gosh.
Thankfully, insurance covers that, and what it doesn't, the good Lord provides some way in how we deal with that. But there was a time in my life when I'd been previously divorced back in 2000, and I would say I was a little bitter about it. And in between then and the next 12, 15 years, I probably wasn't the best person. Kind of fell into some addictive habits, and just just wasn't the man that God called me to be. And then when I went through some of this other stuff, I lost both my parents, and I'm a single kid. So basically I was wandering on the planet with nobody out there. I was, desperado, if you will. And, and I actually contemplated, just ending it all, because it just happened. And then I fell to my knees and I said, if you got a purpose for my life, I need to know it right now. And the next morning I wound up in a church, and it was a big church. It was like a church that holds about 4,000 people. And the whole time the pastor was talking, he was preaching on David, that no matter all of the bad things that he did, he still had a heart for God. And I knew I had a good heart. I had a heart for God. And, but I'd done some bad stuff. But it seemed like when I was sitting in that service that I was the only one in there. that he was just looking directly at me. The pastor was. And so at that moment, I knew that for me to find out what my plan and my purpose in my life was that I was just going to have to give this up. It was bigger than me. And I found out since then that, a lot of times pride gets in the way. And pride's a dangerous thing. And you just kind of have to humble yourself to give it up to something bigger and something better. And we're talking about the divine presence that spoke this whole universe into existence. And when I try to do things on my own, and I'm a pretty, resourceful guy and can get things done and stuff. But when I try to take over and let me be the focal point of it, it kind of gets off the rails. And when I give it up to him and just get out of his way, it's just a beautiful ride. And so now with everything I've gone through, I finally, through all of this, circled back to the point where I know what my purpose in life is, and it's to live for him. It's to have a heart for him, and just to, I'm not the pastor, and I'm not going to beat somebody over the brow with religion. Matter of fact, I don't even like the word religion. I call it being a believer and a disciple of Christ. There's a lot of people that go to church, sit in church, but they don't have a relationship with Christ. I mean, they just perform the same, and they do it out of obligation, like they feel like they have to be there, and it has to be something, that they can earn brownie points with God. They don't have to do anything. God basically, he gave them freedom when he hung on the cross. That's your sanctification and justification and redemption right there. And so you just basically have to accept him and talk to him daily. Read his word and just, that's kind of how it's turned my life around. And with everything I got going on, and yes, I do have aches and pains. I will tell you right now, I am the most blessed man on the planet. There is nothing in nothing is going to steal my joy.
Absolutely. That's good to hear. Such a great story, Mark. Thank you for sharing that. When Brandon told me, he said, this is going to make you get up in your feelings a little bit. And he's like, don't be surprised if you're holding back the tears. And so, yeah, absolutely. That is a very inspirational story. And I'm glad I got to hear that firsthand. And I would like to ask you real quick. We have seen Anderson University be successful. What do you attribute to the success the most for Anderson?
God's grace. God's grace. Yeah. It's nothing that I'm doing. It's I was the first development officer for athletics at Anderson University, and the gentleman that's my boss now, Dr. Bert Epting, he's got a development background as well, and he and we're like, it's not like, even though he's my boss, it's more like we're a team. We're on the same page. We understand how to do things. So one thing I always kind of measure is don't be that guy that's known as going around asking for money, because if you do, people will see you coming and they'll run like the wind. What you have to understand is, we have help, we have needs. First off, being Division II, you can imagine we just don't have the resources that a D1 school does. Secondly, our institution's only been a 4-year institution for 25 years. So we're just now coming into the point where we're getting an alumni base, because prior to that, it was a junior college, and people that went there, they would go on to Furman or South Carolina, Georgia, Wofford, Clemson. And so they would get their bachelor's degrees at those schools, and they've been supporting them for years. So, so now it's getting to the point where we're building our alumni base up, but we've also seen some of those that went to Clemson or went to South Carolina, went to Furman, went to Georgia, wherever, they're coming back to Anderson, and they're giving. And they're, matter of fact, some of my biggest donors are Clemson and South Carolina donors. And I ask them why that you want to do, why come back? I understand that's where it all started for you, and you got fond memories, and it's your alma mater, but it's your alma mater from a JUCO. standpoint. And they said, well, Mark, y'all need the money more than we do. Or you need the money more than Clemson does, or you need the money more than Furman does. And the reason why is I think they're getting driven too is they're just unhappy with the state of college athletics at the big Division I level, especially with NIL involved now in the transfer portal, and now you've got rev share involved. It's almost like an over-the-top pitch to get money at the big schools, because say if you make a big contribution to a school and that's great, you get that pledge paid out. I've heard horror stories about within an hour they're calling back another $100,000 for NIL and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's kind of turned some people off. When you come to Anderson, it reminds you of how athletics used to be in the 80s and 90s. It's true amateur athleticism at its best. The kids love it there. They play for the school. They don't play for the bag. Because face it, it's a D2 level. They're not going to the NBA or they're not going to the NFL. They come there because it's a great school academically. I mean, our nursing program's a top 20 nursing program. We place more teachers in South Carolina than any school in the state. We've got the number 3 cybersecurity program in the country. I mean, the Cisco and the Cisco and the FBI are on our campus all the time recruiting students to come to work for them. So it's a rigorous academic environment. But when you get a degree at Anderson University, you pretty much just walk straight into the job of your choice. And on top of that, we've got amazing coaches. Our amazing coaches, they bond with the kids, but they also have a very responsible and accountable culture within their programs. Some of these programs, they actually have, instead of having a chaplain for their program, they're like, we don't need one. If he wants to come, he can, but we don't need one because we're going to do this internally. They have internal Bible studies within their program. So, I'm just very blessed to be at a premier institution in Division II. Love it here. Like I said, been here over a decade now. I'll probably retire it out here. I mean, there's still some things that we need to do from a facility standpoint and from a resource standpoint. I'm working from home today mainly because we're gutting the inside of our arena and putting a new floor and some new seating in. And so, so that's about a $750,000 job, and the university's investing in that. Thankfully, I didn't have to fundraise for that. They kind of took that one off my shoulders, but we're still we're getting ready to break ground on a new on-campus golf facility. We currently play our baseball games at a minor league park about 2 miles away. But the president's made no bones about it. He'd love to have an on-campus baseball stadium. So, and I'm sure at some point in time, they're going to come back and say, hey, we need a new arena. This one's 50 years old. And I hope it's not too soon, because they just spent $750,000 putting a new floor and new seating in it, which is going on right now. So, but no, it never ends. But my joy is I'm at a campus where we don't have any drama. We don't have any protests. We have the Spirit of the Lord there. Matter of fact, it's very common to see kids huddled up praying before they go in to take exams. That's a pretty neat thing. They're very hospitable. I think our hospitality sets us apart from most people, because when you feel genuinely welcome when you walk on that campus, like you're part of the family, like, come on, let's go to dinner, that kind of thing. So, I'm just very blessed to be surrounded by a team of believers. And like I said, we're succeeding at a level that we've never seen before. This year alone, we are having the most incredible athletic year we've ever had in the history of the school. And it's not even close.
Wow. Real quick, Brandon wanted me to let you know that he is watching and he wishes you well.
Get well, brother.
Yes, get well.
Get well.
Also, I'd like to say I'm going to work really hard to try to attend an Anderson game with Brandon. And when I do, I can't wait to meet you, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I can't wait to see the atmosphere at Anderson University.
Well, it's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful campus. You'll see a lot of enthusiasm there. Since we started football a
Right.
couple years back, I mean, our stadium holds about 4,800, and we average about 5,500. So it just that'll give you an idea.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean,
Wow.
it's which is pretty good for a D2 program.
Well, I think we're getting kind of close to what we agreed on the 30 minutes. So if you need to get out of here, I can let you
Yeah, I
do.
can.
Mark,
Tim, I appreciate
thank
your
you for
time.
taking. Yes, sir. Real quick, if you want to let anyone know like your schedule coming up, like what you have going on in the next few days, you can do so real quick, and we'll let you get out of here.
Well, I'm trying to get through the end of the year. It's exam week starts next week, and then I'm sure we're going to be hosting a couple of NCAA regionals, softball and our lacrosse programs, and our women's golf team. They're number 3 in the country, so they're going to be going to the regionals. So it's just a lot to wrap up. And then the summertime actually is one of my busier times because I try to get a lot of things done with regards to our annual fund, regards to, because I handle the annual fund, I handle major gifts, I handle corporate sponsorships, I handle naming rights. So I try to get a lot of that put to bed prior to the kids coming back in August. So, but no, the best way to reach out to me is go to autrojans.com. And you can click on the staff directory and shoot me an email. But I welcome people to just go to autrojans.com and just traverse all of our programs and take a look at what we have to offer. And if you're up in upstate South Carolina anytime soon, just pop in for a visit. I think you'll be blown away by the beauty of the campus.
Absolutely, Mark. Thank you again for taking time out of your day. I hope you have a great day. And I'm gonna let you get out of here, and I'm gonna talk some sports and wrap the show up myself. So,
all
have
right,
a good
Tim.
day, man.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, thank you for your time.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys. That was Mark Vaughn from Anderson University. Great guy, and what a great story that was. Originally, I was going to ask Brandon some questions, more specifically about his Hawks and some hockey. But like we said earlier in the show, Brandon had to go to the doctor. Brandon, I hope you're doing well. I hope everything works out. I'm going to try to answer some of these. And for those that don't know, or that maybe you guys missed it, last night I was on Brandon's show, the Sportz Nutz. Kind of impromptu. I think it was a couple hours before the show. He's like, "Hey, one of my guys is not going to be on. Would you be down to come on?" I was like, "Oh, absolutely. Definitely go check it out. It's on both the channels here at Answer the Call as well as the Sportz Nutz. Make sure you subscribe to both channels and keep the growing happening." So the Stanley Cup playoffs are, well, they're underway, and they're here, and things are about to get different. And it's, no longer the regular season hockey. This is survive or go home. And every year there's a team that flips the script, and there's a team that flipped the script in the worst of ways. And that team is the Pittsburgh Penguins. Excuse me. The Pittsburgh Penguins, they are on the verge of being swept by the Philadelphia Flyers. And I'm going to tell you firsthand, I did not see this happening. I didn't see it happening at all. But, they down 3-0, not a great way to start a series. And so that's a flipping a script in my book. And I think they're right now currently under the most pressure. As far as a team that can win it all, that's interesting because Colorado Avalanche could. Maybe the Vegas Golden Knights can. I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe it's a team. Let's see here. Maybe it's the Kings. Maybe they come back from the 2-0 deficit. The Stars, they very well could. They're leading 2-1 in the series right now. So a lot of teams can win it all. Every team in the playoffs has a chance to win it all. Only a few, though, actually probably will. Avalanche, although Brandon did point out a very interesting stat that I believe it's no team that has won like the Presidential Cup has went on to win the Stanley Cup in the same year. So the Avalanche won that, and could they be the first one? So, but like I said, team under the most pressure has got to be the Pittsburgh Penguins, being down 3-0 already, and the Senators are already down 2-0, and the Kings, they're already down 2-0. So those are a few teams I feel like are under the most pressure. And last night on Brandon's show, I mentioned that I think the Mammoth can surprise people and kind of be a spicy under the radar team that could upset the Vegas Golden Knights. So I don't know a ton about hockey. But those are my insights and my thoughts. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Let me know who you guys think could win it all in the NHL level. And in basketball, we have Brandon's squad. The Atlanta Hawks. The NBA playoffs are underway, and it has been wild. It has been crazy, and this is where stars either rise or get exposed in the NBA playoffs. And guess what? A star has risen, and a star that we already knew would be there is just going to all measures to make his team win. And I'm talking about LeBron James, the king of basketball. I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now, the greatest of all time. And I saw an interesting stat the other day. 32-0. When LeBron James has a 2-0 lead or greater in a series, he is 32-0. No team has ever come back from a deficit against LeBron. So not looking good for the Rockets without Luka, without Austin Reeves, which Austin Reeves might be ready for game 5 if there is a game 5. I'm sure the Rockets will take at least one, but if there is a game 5, Austin Reeves should be back for that. So LeBron's going to get some help right here to close this series without Luka. And now we're talking maybe the Lakers can go on a run, and who knows what will happen with Luka once he returns, because I have to assume LeBron, I bet Luka's almost ready, but I bet LeBron's like, hey, I got this. If we need you in this series, come on. If not, stay getting healthy and come back for the next series, because at the next series, it's going to be tough. So I am saying LeBron willing his team has got to be, like a great story, a great feeling for Laker fans, great feeling for LeBron fans, and a team that could be in trouble. Well, the Houston Rockets, they were heavily favored going into the NBA playoffs, and now the Lakers already up 2-0. Game 3 tomorrow. What if the Lakers steal that one? Then they're looking at the elimination game in game 4, and best player so far has definitely been LeBron in my book. But there's been a lot of other great ones in the NBA playoffs, and the Detroit Pistons bounced back from after their game 1 loss. They had a pretty dominating victory against the Magic last night, which Will and I last week, we said, the Pistons should dominate the Magic, but Magic stole game 1. So I'll tell you a surprise that happened, and that is Philadelphia stealing game 2 against the Celtics at the Garden. And I don't know what happened. There were several times that it felt like the Celtic players were trying to do too much, 2 and 3 on 1 in the paint, wide open guys at the 3-point line, but they don't pass it. They're trying to drive it. They don't get no points. So I got to tell you, I'm shocked to see some of these teams, like how they're playing. But the Atlanta Hawks. This was going to be for Brandon. Brandon has all the knowledge. That's his team. What's the biggest problem? Well, the biggest problem is in terms of star power, it seems like they don't have the star power that the Knicks have, but they're the hottest team. They were the hottest team in the NBA down the stretch. They were the hottest team at the end of the regular season. I think they need to carry that momentum. And I think that, there's some players that need to step up, and they need to they definitely need game 3 against the Knicks. They need to take game 3. That way it's a 2-1 in your favor, because nobody wants to be on the downside of that 2-1. And I don't know if you guys seen on ESPN or not, and wrestling fans out there, you'll know who this is. Danhausen. He's a WWE superstar, and he comes out and he has this gimmick, and he's all like, basically, if you're rude to him, he's like, "You are cursed," and when he points at you, well, you become cursed. He was on the ESPN with Stephen A. Smith, and he was talking about the Knicks. He's like, "Hey, I could make their opponents struggle," and Stephen A. kind of gave him some grief, and he goes, "You are cursed." And then he said Stephen A. Smith, but he said Knicks before that. So could the Knicks be cursed by Danhausen? I don't know. That would be really funny and really interesting to see. Guys, Mark Vaughn joined us at the top of the show, and that was a great segment, great interview. If you missed it, please go back and watch it. A real good, feel good story, true inspiration, divine intervention. So I'm going to wrap this up with a shorter show today, guys. Tomorrow, the co-host he will be back joining me, and we have NBA talk. We have round 1. Guys, the NFL draft is tonight, round 1. I cannot wait for this, because it's probably one of my favorite times of the year in terms of football in the off season. You have the Super Bowl, and then the month passes, you get free agent frenzy, and then another month passes and you get the NFL draft, and it's an exciting time of year. I can't wait. And I can't wait for all that. I can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait to see what trades happen, what chaos is going to be tonight, because it's round 1 tonight, then round 2 and 3 on Friday night, and closing out with 4, 5, 6, and 7 on Saturday. So who do you hope your team drafts in round 1, and how will that set your team up for round 2? Because I hope the Chargers take a great edge rusher, or if Vega Ionia falls that far, Spencer Fanu would be another good one. So let me know your guys' thoughts on who you hope your team selects in round 1. Also, a short will be posted tonight of Will from our final mock drafts on Monday, and find out who Will has the Cowboys taken. Maybe he does a trade up. Maybe he has a surprise pick. So tune in for that. But yeah, guys, I'm going to keep it kind of short here, and we're gonna get out. Tomorrow's show also includes tomorrow, April 24th. Will and I are previewing Arkansas baseball as they head into their weekend matchup with Missouri. Find out who we have as night 1 winners and losers. So who won and who dropped the ball. And then, of course, we have next week, we'll have a couple of shows, Monday and Friday. The following week is still kind of up in the air. I am going on vacation starting next Friday after the show. I'm going to be in Nashville for a family vacation. So let me know what we can do in terms of shows before before I go on vacation, maybe we can have a fun little fan interaction show because next Friday doing the show, and then I'm basically packing my bags and we're headed to Nashville. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be available on the following week, the very full first week of May. So guys, we appreciate you guys tuning in for making us part of your daily sports needs. I'm Tim Collins. Stay loud, stay opinionated, and always remember, answer the call. Have a good night, guys.